Hi friends, I am Dr. Jetting Ellosa. As you will aware that I am running a channel in the YouTube that is titled and named as the Law Speeches. In this channel, I am posting my lectures on different subjects of law as well as the matters pertaining to the world affairs. So first of all, I request all of you to subscribe to my channel and my lectures are knowledgeable and informative. Please pass on to your friends, relatives and your community people by sharing my lectures. So today we discuss another important topic and also a burning topic of the day around the world. That is, the world is affected by a greatest disaster. As on today, thousands of people have been perishing by the disaster. That is the outbreak of coronavirus, the COVID-19. You know, after Second World War, the world has not seen such the magnitude of disasters. Though it is a Second World War is a man-made disaster, but it is a natural-made disaster. And today we see India is also not exempted to this disaster. As I am speaking, 16.6 million Indians have been affected by this coronavirus, and around 14 million people have been recovered, and there are 1,90,000 people have been perished by this outbreak of disaster. Then how to cope up with this disaster? Whatever the act says, for that today I am devoting my lecture on the Disaster Management Act, which was enacted in 2005 by the Parliament of India. Before going in details of the act, this act is enacted on model with the American Disaster Act of 1974. There in America they have the Disaster Relief Act of 1974, and that has been time to time has got amendments, and the biggest amendment they made in 1988, that is called Disaster Relief and Emergency Assistance Act of 1988, that also be popularly called as a Stafford Act. Again, when the David Trump was the president of United States of America, this act has been overwhelmed in 2018. Now, there at that time also, that Congress of the America enacted the Disaster Recovery Reform Act of 2018. So basically, this act we enacted by taking the American model, the Disaster Management Act of 2005, because we have facing a very strong disaster in form of coronavirus. Then to face it, we need a act. So the disaster may be a man-made disaster, natural disaster, or any sort of disaster, but the government has to tackle the disaster in effective manner. So with that view, the Disaster Act of 2005 was enacted, and this act is called Act of 55 of 2005, and it is published on 23rd of December 2005. Then we have to know what are the main objectives of the act. The main objectives of the act is to effectively management of disasters and matters connected there with or incidental there too. The main purpose of the act is to effectively deal with disasters. Then, as you know that many acts, section 2, which covers the definitions. Here also this act is not an exemption. The section 2 is providing the lot of definitions, and some of the important definitions we are touching here. The definition of the disaster, which is defined under section 2D, where the disaster has been defined in these words. Disaster means a catastrophe, mishap, calamity, or grave occurrence in any area arising from natural or man-made causes or by accident or negligence, which results in substantial loss of life or human suffering or damage to and destruction of property or damage to or degradation of environment, and is of such a nature or magnitude as to the beyond the coping capacity of the community of the affected area. So here the lot of lengthy definition is provided, and also it is a very comprehensive definition. So here disaster is defined. It is a natural catastrophe, a calamity, a mishap. Or sometimes it may be a man-made made by the a nature or man-made. It may be results from the an negligence way or by an accidental way, where it is causes lot of damage to the and lives and properties of the individuals or citizens. And so this is a very comprehensive definition is provided in this section 2D of this act. Then we have the what is meant by disaster management, because if any disaster comes, it's a duty of the state to manage the disaster in effective manner, and the main purpose of the act is also stating the same way. So for that also we have the definition is there. The definition is a section 2 and class number E, where the disaster management is defined in these words. I quote here. Disaster management means a continuous and integrated process of planning, organizing, coordinating and implementing the measures which are necessary or expedient for number 1, prevention of the danger or threat of any disaster. Number 2, mitigation or reduction of the risk of any disaster or its severity or consequences. Number 3, capacity building. Number 4, preparedness to deal with any disaster. Number 5, prompt response to any threatening disaster situation or disaster. Number 6, assessing the severity or a magnitude of the effects of any disaster. 8, evacuation, rescue and relief. Then 8th is the rehabilitation and the reconstruction. So all this process where how to tackle the disaster in effective manner and how to mitigate the disaster, how to make a plan to mitigate the disaster, and what is the response. All those aspects have been added under this section 2 under the definition of the disaster management. And to cope up with this disaster management, this act has been providing detailed powers to the from national level to the local level. So there, the chapter 2 of this act provides that there should be a national disaster management authority that is be called as a NDMA. The NDMA consisting of the 9 members, and there should be a chairman. The chairman is a Prime Minister of India. He should be ex officio chairman of that NDMA. And the members have been nominated by the chairman, and the NDMA mainly focuses upon the plan, what kind of response it has to take in case of arising of any disaster, and how to manage the disaster. That entire responsibility lies upon this authority. Then we have the, in addition to that disaster authority committee, under section 7 of this act provides that there is a national advisory committee that is to be constituted by the NDMA, because the advisors are important. They come from the different fields, and they have to, without them we cannot make it as a success or tackle. So that is the reason we have the national advisory committee is provided under section 7 clause number 1 of this act. Then section 8 of this act provides that constitution of a national executive committee to monitor all those aspects. We have the executive committee is there, is national level, and the committee under section 9 clause number 1, it can constitute different subcommittees. So the subcommittees can monitor the activities happening around to tackle the matters pertaining to disasters. Then we have the section 10, which provides the powers and functions of the National Executive Committee, because Executive Committee is a very powerful body which takes all the policy decisions of these matters. So the main powers of this committee are act as the coordinating and monitoring body, and prepare national plans, lay down the guidelines and preparation of the state government and the state authorities, and to monitor the implementation of national plans, advise, assistance, and promote general education awareness regarding the tackling of the disaster. So section 10 is another important sections where National Executive Committee is empowered to deal with these disasters. And the chapter 2 is there, which provides at the state level how a disaster has to be tackled. For that also, under section 14, under chapter 2 of this act provides that should be a state level disaster management authority, and generally this authority is chaired by the state chief minister, and it is on par with the central level, where the state committee members are appointed by the chief minister, who is a ex officio chairman of this authority. Then section 18 of this act provides state authorities powers and functions. So the same powers which are functions which have been enjoyed by the national level authorities have been to be enjoyed by the state level in its domain. And in addition to that, as that of the central level executive committee, in the state also under section 20 we have the state level executive committee also be there, that will look after the situation arising upon the disaster, how to manage the disasters. Then we have the under section 22 class number 1, the state national plans and state plans can be implemented by the state committee. If the central government prescribes any plan that has to be implemented, even a state can prepare its own plan. So that power is also there in case of the state governments. And section 24 provides the state executive committee, and their powers and functions also been conferred to the state executive committees, and that will look after the tackling of the disaster which arises from time to time. Then the another chapter, that is chapter 4, which provides district macro level responsive teams. So for that we have the section 25, district disaster management authority. So these authorities are will be created by the state governments in every district, and generally the district collector, a executive magistrate, or the deputy commissioner of that respective district be chairman of these committees. And the committees generally they have the 7 members. It may take more members also. And the 7 members should be belong to all walks of departments. Health department, local authority department. So different, all the walks of department people should be there in this committee, district level committees. So local bodies have been given lot of importance, because a local body is important. It is having connected with the people directly. That is the reason the local bodies have been given a big role at the district level, that we have to remember. Then section 28 provides that every district level there is a district advisory committee is also being to be constituted, and that is provided under this act. Then section 30 is another important section which provides the powers and functions of the district authorities, because the district authorities have been given wide powers under this act to tackle the disaster. So they can prepare the local plans, coordinate the affairs, implement the plans which it has made. So all these have been provided to the district authority under section 30 of this act. Then under section 31 we have the act provides that district disaster authority may prepare district plan. The specific district plans may be prepared under section 31 of this act. Then we have to go to the another chapter, chapter 5, where the under sections 36, where the central or state government can take measures for the prescribe the various departments to prepare the different action plans, and that same power also being given to section under section 38 to the state governments. Then a separate chapter has been provided to the local bodies, because as I already told you that local bodies are very important to tackle any disaster because they are directly connected with the people. So a chapter 6 is created under this Disaster Management Act of 2005, where local bodies have been given a lot of importance, and the lot of powers have been accorded to the local bodies under this act. Then we have the chapter 7, which provides that at the national level we should have a National Institute of Disaster Management to make a research and make updates regarding the disaster management. So this authority is institute is functioning in the national capital city, Delhi. Then we have the chapter 8 deals with the National Disaster Response Force. A separate force has to be created to tackle with these disasters. So that is the reason we have a rapid forces have been provided. They only trained to how to tackle the disasters, and if any disaster arises, the central government are rushing the forces to that area under this chapter 8 of this act is concerned. Then the chapter 9 provides the finances and accounts and audits of these matters pertaining to the national disasters. And the chapter 10 chapter which provides the various offences and penalties under this act. For that we have to go by section wise. So section 51 provides that if anybody obstructs any officer or refuses to comply the orders under this act, such persons can be punishable of 1 year of imprisonment, fine, or both. And if they cause any loss by such obstruction or refusal to comply the order, they are, and where on that account some lives have been lost, or they created imminent danger to the lives, in such situation they are liable for 2 years of imprisonment, fine, or both. Then section 52 provides that punishment for false claims. If anybody makes any false claims, they are liable for 2 years of imprisonment and fine, or both. Then section 53 provides punishment for mismanagement of money or material. If any official who involved in he commits any sort of mismanagement or the material or money, they are also liable under this section. For that they are also liable for 2 years of imprisonment, fine, or both can be imposed. Then section 54 speaks about the whoever makes any false alarm warning to as a disaster or circulates in any media, whether it is a print media, electronic media, or social media, or any mouth, in such situation such persons are liable for 1 year of imprisonment, or fine, or both. Then section 58 speaks about if the offences are committed by a companies or body corporates or any other agencies, they are also liable for the same sort of punishments as which has been prescribed to the individuals, which have been narrated as above. Then we have to discuss who has to make a complaint regarding this commission of the offences. So this act says that no court can take the cognizance of this matter unless and until it is a complaint is made by a person having authorized by the national or state or district level authorities. So that is clearly provided under this act. And this act also further says that 30 days of notice should be given to the such accused person to show for his erring act, reasons for erring act. So that is also been a part of this act mechanism. Then chapter 11th, which provides that under section 261 that no discrimination should be made while providing compensation under this act. That the discrimination should not be there upon the capacity, sex, religion, caste, descent. So, while giving the compensation under the act to the affected persons, no discrimination should be allowed or to be made. That is specifically provided under this act. Then the section 65, which provides that if the disaster authorities requires any resources, vehicles or premises, resources also here includes the men, then it should be provided to them. So basing upon this situation, the authorities can take any kind of premises, any kind of resources, any kind of vehicles of the private parties. That power is also there, vested in the hands of the authority, disaster authority, management authorities under section 65 of this act. Then another section 71 provides that if any suit or proceeding to be launched under this act, it should be only in the Supreme Court of India or in the High Courts. So all other courts in India has debarred to entertain any petition under this act. That debar is provided under section 71 of this act. Then section 72 also provides that this act has a overriding the any other act, that is power is provided to this act. So it can override the other acts, because here it is a disaster, it is sudden occurrence. To face such sudden occurrence, this kind of a powerful teeth is provided to under this act under section 72. Then section 73 provides that any officers, authorities who makes an act in a good faith, they are not liable for any kind of punishment under this act. That is provided under section 73. And section 74 also speaks about the same thing, the immunities of legal process of this all the persons who are involved under this act. So this act is a very, very comprehensive act, is enacted by the Parliament of India, and totally there are 17 sections are there and covered under the 11 chapters. So this we can say that this act can tackle the any kind of disaster, whether it is a man-made natural disaster, any other disaster, any kind of calamity, any kind of catastrophe can be tackled by this act. So this act is now became so popular after this coronavirus crisis have been started, and maybe before to that also some disasters may came and gone. Earthquakes have come in Uttarakhand and northern parts, and some floods have been happened in Andhra Pradesh and other states. But till there is a large crisis have been developed, this importance of act has come into picture. So this is a very, very comprehensive act, and which is providing a lot of powers to the central government, state governments, district authorities and local authorities to tackle any kind of situation may arise, to face any disaster. So with this, I am concluding my lecture on the National Disaster Act of 2005. If you feel that my lecture is a good and informative and knowledgeable, please share among your friends, and I request all of you to subscribe to my channel, which is called as a last speeches. You can search it by my name, Jetling Elosa. Thank you for watching my lecture.